Babies are dying. Why? According to Roger Ver, it's because of Bitcoin Core. Luckily, we have a Bitcoin Core developer here in this room, so you can ask him why is he killing babies.
I like it.
Good. So, it's a bit controversial statement, but I know where he's coming from. And I think his intuition is right. But I disagree with his conclusion. So let's just specify it because it's just a controversial statement, right? Babies are not dying in the Netherlands, but babies are dying in Venezuela. And let's get to the bottom of it. Why are babies dying in Venezuela? It's because their parents cannot buy food and medicine for them. Why cannot they buy food and medicine? It's because, not because they cannot afford it, it's because they don't even have it in the store in the first place. So why don't they have it in the store in the first place? It's because they mismanage their economy. And what's the worst way you can mismanage an economy? Is to, yes, messing with the money supply because of centralization. So this is one example of something that had far-reaching consequence. In this case, babies are dying. Let's get back to this later. I have to be very careful not to spoil the bottom line. Let's get back to this later and let's talk about books. One book. Does anyone know which book has seen the second? Well, let's start with the first. Which book has seen the most editions since the invention of the printing press?
The Bible.
The Bible. Okay, you're good. How about the second?
Atlas Shrugged. Atlas Shrugged. Atlas Shrugged from Ayn Rand.
No, but that's not. Sorry?
Lord of the Rings.
Lord of the Rings. No, we are talking about editions now, right? Well, it could be every book that's published on GitHub, Mastering Bitcoin, but no. I want to talk about, it's Euclid's Elements. Do you know what was the marketing strategy of Euclid's Elements? You have 5 axioms, and from that 5 axioms, you only have to remember this, and you can deduct the rest of the 600 pages of the books by yourself. So, but what happens if you change one of the axioms? Well, I'm Hungarian, and there was a Hungarian guy, Bolyai János. Sorry for my English pronunciation of Hungarian names. He changed one of the axioms, and what happened is a completely new geometry has born. So he changed the small thing, and that had far-reaching consequences. Okay, I want to change topic again, and I want to play a game. I want to sell you something. Well, I'm selling my phone. Okay, it's a great phone, brand new and very expensive and stuff. So, would anyone buy it from me for $1 in Bitcoin?
Yes.
All right, how about you? Okay, how much money do you have? Do not answer that question. The point I am trying to make is that it might end up you buying me this thing. It might end up you are exposing all your financial history for me. If I'm motivated enough, if you are all in Bitcoin, all these conditions, but in the future, when Bitcoin takes over the world, might end up being a huge problem. So again, there was something changed, and that had far-reaching consequences. Now, to bring this all together, let's talk about the Greeks again, ancient Greeks. So one of the ancient, well, probably the most prominent ancient philosopher, mathematician, everything, is Aristotle. And he was the first one who came up with the concept of properties of good money. Of course, economics is not a real science, so people are arguing about it. But he came up with the properties of good money. Divisibility, fungibility, unit of value, acceptability, and so on. And if we look at this, this is very similar to Euclid's axioms. If you change something, that has far-reaching consequences. So we are here to build good money. And we have a specification, right? And one of these axiom-ish thing is fungibility. And a lot of people argues that we should ruin fungibility for the sake of, well, whatever they argue. But the point is that we have a specification. We know that if fungibility, privacy, anonymity, if we ruin this thing, then we are building a worse money than our competitors. So very similarly to what Roger Ver is arguing for is the baby killing stuff, is that what he says is that Bitcoin Core is trying to ruin the portability, that how well you are transferring and how fast you are transferring the money and how cheap it is, the portability property. And he would like to introduce centralization into the system in order to get better portability and acceptability. Well, you might say that's a good compromise. Some people say that our money is already, well, Venezuelan currency is already much more acceptable than Bitcoin and much more portable than Bitcoin. So the only thing we really have is scarcity. And if you think about it, scarcity is the one that if you ruin that, that's when babies are going to die. How do you ruin scarcity? You're introducing centralization. Well, so who's killing babies, Roger Ver? All right, so I'm here to talk about fungibility. Fungibility, privacy, anonymity. Let's say that's the same word. They are very related. I'm building a Bitcoin wallet called Wasabi Wallet. And this wallet is trying to improve the fungibility of Bitcoin without compromising too much on the other properties. And what I'm going to talk about today is I decided I don't go into the technicals. You're welcome. So only the first part of my presentation, well, basically that's the fun part, is going to be what I'm talking about. A couple of things about me, because I didn't even say who I am. So you might read in the description of the presentation that he is an authority in this space. So respect my authority. Anyway, I worked on Bitcoin privacy projects. You might heard about them. I only want to say 3 things. ZK Snacks is the company behind Wasabi Wallet, which was previously called Hidden Wallet. And let's go. Do you know who is the old guy there?
Mr. Miyagi.
Yes, Mr. Miyagi. He's a famous cryptographer. He said, he said that Wasabi is for defense only. That is the first rule. Do you know what is the second rule of ZK Snacks Karate? Learn the first rule first. Okay, so what I wanted to talk about, this is a little bit about the team. So what do you do when you came out of university? No, you are in university, and someone comes to you that he's a programmer, and you're learning programming in university. Of course, that worth nothing. So you're learning that, and someone came to me, and he hired me. So I dropped out of my first university and went to this guy. And he's the most competent programmer I've ever met. And he was a .NET programmer. Of course, in university, they didn't teach us .NET. Well, they did teach us. I just failed in programming like 2 or 3 times. But my point is that that he was a .NET programmer, and you know, .NET, Microsoft. So we hate .NET programmers because we hate Microsoft. Let me get back to this later. So fast forward a few years. We hired my previous boss. So he's my Mr. Miyagi, who taught me everything, and that was my point. It was very selfish. I just wanted to share a personal success. Sorry guys. No, not everyone can say they hired their first boss. Wasabi is written in .NET. Next. I was in Taiwan, and I was running out of money. I was into Bitcoin for like a year or 2 now, and I was very, very, very excited that I'm going to get a Bitcoin job finally. So there was this guy who, well, it was 10 p.m. It's night, and I had an interview, and he said, okay, if you come with me I buy you a ticket to Thailand right now if you come today. So I went, and we were working on blockchain, which was very interesting. A team of people in the middle of the jungle had nothing else to do, could nothing else to do because we were in the middle of the jungle, just trying to, well, this was the goal, come up with anything blockchain related. At that time, there were no R3. R3 was the huge, well, the A team. R3 was the, well, a lot of banks came together and created R3 with the smartest people in the room, like Tim Swanson. Not Tim Swanson. No, never mind. So Mike Hearn and Richard Jendal Brown from IBM. So the smartest blockchain people. So I was reading those guys because they were blogging and writing about blockchain things. And we tried to come up with anything, but we did not succeed. So that's why I realized that I have to stick with Bitcoin. because there might be a little bit more content there than in blockchain. What I'd like, so I know this place is full of blockchain people, so please prove me wrong.
Did you really think that? That this place is full of blockchain people?
Yes.
You mean like this room?
Yes.
Okay, first of all, let's define that. What is a blockchain person?
It's a good question.
We're going to take a poll right now. What's a blockchain person?
People who are not interested in the currency application of blockchain. Hands up if you are interested in the currency application in blockchain. Okay, full of.
So we're not right about that.
I was not right.
No. I even told you about our Bitcoin maximalism poll that we took a couple months ago, right?
Yes.
So, you know, in very large majority, let's say 85% or more, are holding at least some Bitcoin here.
Nice. How much? How many people hold only Bitcoin? And no fiat.
I think if there's someone who is more closer to that than me, I'd like to speak with them because I'm pretty close to it, but it's hard. I'm trying. Bitcoin Wednesday is actually an experiment in that. Anyway, let's go back to the privacy.
Yes. Next time, I flew to Japan to work with Nicolas Dorier. How many people heard about Nicolas Dorier here? A couple of people. Okay. Nicolas Dorier wrote the Bitcoin.net library. So I'm a .NET programmer. He's the best Bitcoin programmer in .NET, so I went to learn from him, right? Nicolas Dorier is the guy on the bottom. The other guy is Lucas Ontiveros. He's from Argentina, and he's the second most active contributor of NBitcoin, which is the Bitcoin library that Wasabi Wallet is using. And he's working with me for, well, a long time now. So, oh, and the photo, that was my room in Japan. So, yeah, Mr. Miyagi again. Yeah, next one is I'm going to hire Nicolas Dorier because he's my second guru, second mentor. Okay, so let's get a bit more technical. Oh, who is this guy? Shout. Steve Ballmer. Who hates Microsoft in this room? Not less than I thought. Okay, so he was the CEO of Microsoft back then, and Microsoft was like a walled garden, right? Like right now, Apple or Google is starting to be. And Steve Ballmer said, Linux is a cancer. And I was not happy being a .NET developer, but I got money for it, so well, I had to roll with it. But things were started to change a few years ago. And from here, there was a CEO change, and we got here. This is the current CEO of Microsoft, and his name cannot be pronounced. So, Microsoft is started to open up to the point that today Microsoft has the biggest code base on GitHub, right? Microsoft started open sourcing everything. Don't be surprised if Windows is going to be open source tomorrow. Anything possible. .NET Core, they rewrote .NET into an open source .NET Core, and that's cross-platform. So it works Linux, Mac, and Windows. And the point is that things are starting to change in the .NET world, and that's what Wasabi is built on. So if you tell me that Wasabi sucks because it's built with .NET, well, it's .NET Core. Actually, .NET is open source now too, so anyway, it's .NET Core, fully open source. Microsoft is the most open company in the world, and things changed, not only changed. And the last person is at the team, last developer of the team, is Dan Vamsey. And he wrote Avalonia. Well, as I said, Microsoft started building an open source infrastructure, but it wasn't really ready yet. So Microsoft didn't build for example, the UI framework. So other people had to build the UI framework, and this is one of the guy who built the UI framework, which was called Avalonia, which is Wasabi Wallet is built with Avalonia. And if you ever used Wasabi Wallet, you might recognize this software here because it's called Avalon Studio, which this guy built, and we built with him Wasabi Wallet, which is very similar, which you're going to see very soon. And finally, I want to go into Bitcoin stuff more. A lot of people ask me, why doesn't Wasabi Wallet has a mobile wallet? Well, it's simple, because building stuff to mobile is hard. Building privacy to desktop is extremely hard. Building privacy to mobile is like, there is not even a proof of concept that's a private thing on mobile. So what am I talking about this? Do you know that all the light wallets are somehow leaking information about your addresses? So one of the things is that you have Mycelium or some wallet that sends back all the addresses to a central server because they have to somehow know that what is your balance and what coins you can spend. So this is a hard problem. And what they figured out is Bloom filtering SPV wallets, which this guy, Jonas Nick, was the one who actually de-anonymized the Bloom filtering SPV wallets. So very, very, very long, for a very long time, this was the only true light wallet thing. Why doesn't Bitcoin Core?
You do need to hurry a little bit for the next speaker, so we have a couple more minutes, a few questions.
All right. So Bitcoin Core does not leak your address balances because you download all the transactions from the blockchain. Wasabi doesn't leak your address balances because of a protocol that Lightning Network developers came up with, and I'm not going to go into that. It's a client-side filtering, and that's what we built on desktop on Wasabi. So this is the only light wallet right now, seriously, that you can use that doesn't leak your addresses. And we didn't even get into CoinJoins that doesn't link your addresses together to a third party. And we didn't even get into CoinJoin yet. Well, not going to, because I'm just going to show you a demo. Yeah, I wrote Tor stuff too. Tor is an anonymity network. It's nice. Wasabi comes with that default. Okay. So my last slide, which actually you don't even have to do anything with it because I'm just going to show you. I hope people on the back can see it. This is Wasabi Wallet. It's just like a normal Bitcoin wallet, except that it has a CoinJoin tab too, which which I'm going to fire up 2 wallets. On the Bitcoin testnet. Yeah, and it's not good. And, nice. By the way, I'm in a Wasabi Telegram group, and they think I'm a fake Nopara impersonator because I'm going with Nopara 44 there, and they are always arguing with me. They don't know I'm Nopara. So why I'm telling this is because I asked them to and don't tell them. I asked them to someone be on the testnet now, and well, it looks like they listen to the fake Nopara. Yeah, I don't have password on the rec test. So this is CoinJoin. You are mixing, and there are 2 peers registered right now. Well, I'm going to be the second one, and the point is that you are coin joining your coins together with someone else, and how this happens is you create a big transaction. Right now it's 2 because it's a direct test. 41 people are required on the mainnet, and runs are happening every day, like 10 or more. And there you go. We have a coin join, and it registers to the next one. So we want to see the transaction. How does it look like in a Block Explorer? And if you look at that carefully, then you can see that there is 2 inputs and 3 outputs. And 2 outputs are the same. So you have no idea which input corresponds to the same amount outputs. This one is obvious because this is the bigger one. This is what Wasabi Wallet is all about. Coin joins for now. And finally, because I promised you I'm not going into the technicals, I just want to show you where you can find out more about Wasabi Wallet and how you can get your white belt in the Wasabi Wallet dojo. So on GitHub, you can check the wallet Wasabi, and you can, of course not. Actually, you can just go to the Wasabi website, wasabiwallet.io, and go to the dojo, and that's where you can see other people talking about Wasabi and building stuff to Wasabi. And this is where you can find out more about Wasabi. It's a CoinJoin wallet. It's about privacy. We're going to change the world. Thank you.
Questions for Adam? Yes.
To what address do I send $1 for your phone?
You would like to donate?
I thought it was different, but it's okay.
I don't. We don't accept. We accept donations, but we don't want to because, well, you have to think about regulatory stuff in the future, and it's better if you keep everything clean from the beginning.
I already asked you this question outside, though. Here. One of the things Dutch government is trying to enforce is if you do an indication of mixing, then you will also be the burden of proof is on you. Considering Wasabi Wallet transactions are quite obvious to see, is there any chance where going to see some kind of improvements in maybe doing different denominations, but also group, to, well, at least get the burden of mixing off it, because it's transparent, of course.
No, I don't think that's possible. Maybe pay to endpoint, but I'm not quite sure. I mean, there are just too much metadata on the blockchain, so maybe.
Maybe SEC hash anyone can pay on all transactions for plausible deniability as well, but yeah, you still get a mixing issue, of course.
There is too much metadata on the blockchain. Even that, what kind of fees are you using? So many things. Are you using RBF and they can identify your wallets? Are you using batch 32 addresses, which Wasabi uses? Things like that. It's a nice idea to try to act like other Bitcoin transactions, but in the end, you can only confuse like stupid blockchain analysis tools. You cannot confuse like real ones.
Okay. Oh, thank you.
Other questions? Yeah, coming. Good catch.
Thanks for that talk. It was very entertaining. It was brilliant. Are you not making 3,000 bitcoins less fungible so far? Like, is anyone going to touch those bitcoins that have been through your system?
Well, I don't think so, because what is fungibility? It's interexchangeability. So I'm making 3,000 bitcoins exchangeable by each other. It's not perfect, but well, this is the best we can do for now. We can improve it a lot more, but for now, this is what we have.
Last question. Anyone? Yeah.
So do you have advice for people who do want to be able to use a mobile wallet like Samurai or something and be private in some sense? Should we send it first through Wasabi to a Samurai wallet?
Could you rephrase that?
So today I bought a beer with Bitcoin using Samurai, but how would we do that for it to be more private? Would it be good to go via Wasabi?
No, Wasabi is best used alone, because the more other services you are touching, the more other services you are leaking information. I paid very, very careful attention in Wasabi to do not support anyone else. Do not support daemon, because a daemon would act differently than users would act, right? In Monero, your My Monero wallet is not going to be the same as your I don't know, Monero core wallet. So there are probably even, yes, actually there are. You can identify My Monero transaction by just how much fee they did, or at least you could half a year ago, someone did. And I paid very careful attention to everything be the same. I won't be able to control it forever, and people are going to build stuff with Wasabi on top of Wasabi, fork Wasabi, and it's going to diversify, and anonymity will be less. We won't be able to see how much anonymity it will provide eventually because of the different kind of services. But right now, it's like everyone is using the same thing and everyone is acting the same way, so it's like we can quantify a lot more things.
One last question from me. Can you say something about the future possibilities for improved privacy with Bitcoin?
Sure. Actually, that's my third part of my presentation. There are a couple of things. For one, it's good to mention, if we would have confidential transactions, then all of this shit that I worked on would be obsolete by tomorrow, because that's how good confidential transactions is. But I doubt. I won't elaborate on why I don't think a huge consensus change is not going to reach consensus. I just did. The other thing is Schnorr signatures, which are not really good for privacy, just make coin joins cheaper. So that's good. Not that cheaper, like 30% cheaper actually. Here is a guy who wrote about Schnorr signatures and some voters, yeah, probably. And you should read his article. It's great about Schnorr signatures. And what else? There are pay-to endpoint and unequal mixing amount and mixing to other people. So right now, we are mixing equal outputs, but we can optimize this a lot. Right now, you need 0.1 Bitcoin with Wasabi to participate in the mixing. And if you have 8,000 Bitcoin, then you have to do 80,000 rounds, which is going to take years. So unequal input mixing would optimize that the big people come mix with the big people, the small people with the smallest people, and the big people with the small people. So we can do much smarter things, and it's actually on the horizon right now. We already implemented the basic form of it, which can be an extension, and is going to be deployed in a month or something. And the other thing is, of course, you are mixing money with, well, to yourself. What if you would mix to other people? And if the liquidity would really catches up, if a lot more people would use Wasabi and rounds would happen instead of every 1 hour, every, well, 2 or 3 minutes, then we could do things like, well, mixing to other people. And it would be like a normal transaction. And that's very interesting too. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Adam.
Thank you, guys.